the grade, they were stacked one on the other. So the clock, this guy's card was below, completely down. So when Prabhupada asked him that question, he took his card out and put it on top. That was his goal. He wants to be top guy. So when we come to Krishna consciousness, we come with that kind of mentality. So we want to already practice the result, which is when we get problems. Why am I not getting it? Why is nothing changing? Why does it feel like I don't move anywhere? We forget that Prabhupada says the process, gradual. It might not seem that anything's happening from our vantage, but from somebody else's vantage, Krishna, something else could be happening. And we'll talk about that a bit later. So we establish who we are. Okay, spiritual seekers, and we want to go beyond that. What is beyond that? We go back to Krishna. Among thousands of men, hardly one will seek perfection. Now who, sitting here today, can say honestly, I'm seeking for perfection? Please raise your hand and you can share. You seeking for perfection? Okay? Share something. What is perfection? It's something very specific. The process is always very specific. What is perfection? This verse that Krishna is talking, that particular verse, it's a particular meaning, perfection. Okay, I'll just talk. So, perfection, even the yogi, when we read the Bhagavatam, right? So, the last one that I read just now was Sobari Muni. Not everybody knows about Sobari Muni. He was this Muni, he was in the sea, the river, in the water, and he made an offense to Garuda. So for that offense, he saw fishes, exchanging love. And so he decided the same thing. He came out of the water. He married the 150 daughters, I think, of Mandata king. And then afterwards, he became very regretful. He engaged in penance, and then he achieved perfection. Now, do you think when he achieved perfection, he became an associate of Krishna? No. Does it say anywhere? Those who achieve perfection become associates of Krishna? No. Achieving perfection means I realize I am Atma. It may mean I go and I merge into the Brahma Jyoti. It may mean I achieve Siddhaloka, where all the great yogis stay, realizing Paramatma in the heart. But to mean that I actually become an associate of Krishna is something else. Now we go to the other verse. Krishna says, among thousands of perfected beings, not beings seeking perfection, perfected beings, hardly one knows me in truth. What does it mean? There's something above perfection. What is above perfection? Relationship with Krishna. It is above perfection. And it means here, Krishna values that. And hardly one knows me in truth, which means even in the Goloka Vrindavan, we know from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Uddhava and Narada are talking to Gopakumar. They're saying, Goloka Vrindavan is far removed from all the Vaikuntha planets. Why? Because Krishna doesn't want that what happens in Goloka disturbs the inhabitants of Vaikuntha. Because the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, they are used to Krishna, seeing Krishna in awe and reverence. It's also a relationship, but it's not that relationship where there is no consciousness that he is God. It is so very, very, very rare. So now comes the next question. What do we want? Why did we come here? Why are we sitting here? Is it all because I want? I noticed a lot of the questions, during those few days were, basically it's how can I make that progress faster? Let's turn it around. Why should it be about me? That's the whole point about Krishna. It's not about me. The Acharya calls it self-abnegate. We have to understand this term very, very carefully. You see, Prabhupada says, you don't read my books, you study my books. It's a world of difference. I mean, being here in Switzerland, German speaking, you know that preposition ab, right? Ab means to take away from, to reduce. Self-abnegate, it's an English word that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur made up. Maybe it does exist in the English language. It means to reduce the self, meaning the body, and then to negate it, throw it out. So that what is left is my consciousness, I am Atma. It's only from that level that I can even begin to think I can know Krishna. Let us know who we are. Again, coming back to the same point. What did the Shastra say? I take one hair out, there's a bulb. I divide the bulb into 100 parts. I take one part, I divide into 100 parts. Who can see that? That's me. I'm invisible. There's a reality. It cannot just, nothing about spiritual practices is a sentiment. Nothing about Krishna, Krishna's creation is sentiment. There's rules and regulations, and it goes according to the rules and regulations. Once we understand that, we follow that, then emotions take over. It's a different thing. There's a difference between sentiment and emotion. Sentiment, the very word tells you, comes from the senses, which means it's short-lived and it's very egoistical. Emotions is what comes from the outside and stimulates feelings. It's a different thing. So it's two different things. So when I know my size, right? So what am I? Finite. What am I? Limited. And who is Krishna? Infinite, unlimited. What does the 10th canto, how is he described? He has no back, he has no front, he has no inside, he has no outside. Can anybody here? I don't understand that. Give me an idea what it is to have no inside, no outside, no back, no front. For me, it's nothing. Yeah, I mean, isn't it for us in this world, when we see something has no back, no front, no inside, no outside, what is it? We can't understand that. We cannot understand Krishna. Why? Atashi Krishna namadi na bhavet grayam indriye. Na bhavet grayam indriye, which is indriya that I have, the senses that I have. I cannot understand Krishna, but seven mukha, the mouth, ki jiva, tongue. It starts with the mouth and the tongue. This is where chanting comes. So basically we establish ourselves. But the basic point comes again. It will always come throughout our life until we die. What is it that I want? And for that, what I want is what I am willing to do. Krishna says 3 things should never be given up: austerity, charity. Austerity is sacrifice. Austerity is penance, the same thing. Penance, charity, and sacrifice. 3 things should never be given up. So depending on how much we engage in these things, this is how much yeyatamam prapadyante tam satyeva Pajamiyaham. As you surrender unto me, I reward you accordingly. He's a person. He's not just an idea, a thing. He's not like Prabhupada says, our order supplier. When I need something, I want something, all the time I do everything for me. And then suddenly I'm feeling depressed, despondent, whatever, everything is against me. Now I go to Krishna. It's okay in the beginning, but we are not in the beginning anymore. We are dealing with a person here. And we try to be personal in the same way. So now we have established ourselves. What are we? Seeking relief only, or actually seeking the spiritual? If we seek the spiritual, where are we willing to go? Above perfection? That would mean a relationship with Krishna. This is the reason why he says, hardly, try to think, among thousands of perfected beings, who here can say, I'm a perfected being? Hardly one knows me in truth. Once, Kogishwadas Babaji told Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in this whole universe, a Vaishnava is hardly to be seen. Think about it. We're all trying to be this Vaishnava, are we? Isn't it? Hardly to be seen. So, he says, an assembly of Vaishnava is simply impossible. So what are we? Except in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So as long as we stay in this Sankirtan movement, we are connected. I may not be a Vaishnava right now, but I am on the path. And I hope against hope while doing all my best. Right. So now we try, according to the Shastra and the Acharyas. Okay, so before I go to according to the Acharyas and the Shastras, would anybody want to share something? Or I was going to move to another subject. So would anybody want to share something on whatever we just spoke? Or ask something or anything? Yes, Prabhu.
So you spoke about this first Manushanam Sahasra, that out of 1,000 only one will reach perfection, and out of those who have reached the perfection, only one knows the truth.
Hardly.
Hardly.
Yeah, that's a verse in English.
About the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, and now how is the proportion? Is now more have the possibilities, or still the verse of Bhagavad Gita applicable for our?
Yes. What it is we are very lucky in this age. Krishna descends once in the day of Brahma. You know how long is the day of Brahma? 4.32 million earthly years. That's one day of Brahma. And then there's a night of Brahma, 4.32 earthly million years. So one day night of Brahma, 8.64 million earthly years, Krishna descends. So he just left. If you make a timeline between 5,000 and now, he just left. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. He was just here. Then Prabhupada came. It's easier. Prabhupada says, easy but not cheap. So you see, we do have to pay the price. It's not a formula. It's not an equation. The question that you ask, basically, you want to know what's the percentage. So it's an equation you want. And no, nothing about Krishna is predictable. Nothing. And one thing we have to also understand, because we are all individuals. He comes to us individually. Comes to you, to her, to me, to any one of us in a specific way that a lot of times we don't even know, because he's Supreme Brahman. And the only thing that we have is our own determination to somehow do the process. I mean, it seems like, okay, I'll talk about the process. What is being given to us, Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Very important. It may seem very repetitive, rules and regulations, but without that, we have no way of removing anarthas. Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, on that platform, it's a Madhyam platform actually, the real work is anartha nivritti. And we cannot bypass that. There is no shortcut. So that question that you ask is dependent on us, not on him. We have free will. Krishna will reciprocate as we want. You understand? He's a person. He's not a thing. You need to want him. You need to want him as a person. And for that, there's a process which starts mechanical. Seems that where is the emotions in that? Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, Mangalati every day. You live in a temple? If you live in a temple, it's good to live in a temple for a while. Its rules and regulations, you hate it sometimes, but it's a structure that you will never give up for the rest of your life. You get up for Mangalati because you have to. You do all the process because you have to, but after a while, it becomes spontaneous. You want to do it. Because if you don't go for Mangalati, you miss it. It's cold, you don't want to get up. It's cold for Krishna also, he's got up. So you go. The dynamics change. So that's why rules and regulations are so important. They bring us to a point. They will not give us Krishna Prem. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says first is anartha nivritti, then rati, attachment, and then rasa. He says if somehow we think first rasa, then rati, then anartha nivritti, he says it is just like we go to a cow, we take dry hay, we rub it against the udder, and then we go to the mouth and we wait for milk. Simply impossible. It's never going to work. So the process is there. Does it make sense to you? Yes? I cannot say, you know, Prabhupada when he speaks, he never says, one lecture he says, I never say I think or I suppose. I always go the Acharya, so that's what I'm doing. But it's not a dead process, in a sense of, that's what I'm talking about, right? You go to the temple, you do this process mechanically. After a while, there is reciprocation on our level. On our level, what would the reciprocation be? It's not that suddenly, you know, I'm attached in the material world, but I see my Swarup. It doesn't work like that. So what it would be is, I get attached to the process itself. Not because it's mechanical now, but because it's my connection with Krishna. Let's say, for instance, it's Janmashtami. It's 11:30 at night. The midnight arati will happen. I have 4 rounds left to chant. What do? Do I chant it the next day? Or do I finish my rounds today? Now the decision that I take will mean how much Harinam reciprocates with me. If someone feels I'm incomplete if I haven't finished the 4 rounds, I will chant it even if it's bad rounds. It's Harinam reciprocating with the person. I don't know. I don't go there. I'm anartha nivritti right now. I do the process, like I say, I can only speak on my level, which is, you know, the level of, we want to try to form part in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement right now. I can only speak on the level where I would like to be attached to the process. I would like to be attached to want to be part of Krishna's family. So I'm sorry. So I'm just repeating what the Acharyas say. Okay, maybe I will quote one verse from Jagadananda Pandit, from Prema Vivarta. Jagadananda Pandit is supposed to be Satyabhama herself, very attached to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he left behind Prema Vivarta. Feelings, basically his feelings, but he talks a lot about the holy name. So I'm going to read this excerpt. We just have to try to listen very carefully because it's a bit three-dimensional. It's not just a linear. The name and the possessor of the name are one. We understand that, right? Krishna and his name is one. Now, do we really feel it? No. Once one girl wrote to Srila Prabhupada and asked, Prabhupada, how should we chant Hare Krishna? And Prabhupada replied, it's a letter actually, we can read it. You should chant Hare Krishna feeling the presence of Krishna. But if, however, you cannot do that, then try to hear yourself chant sincerely. What would feeling the presence of Krishna mean? Again, we come back to this, what we heard yesterday in class. Sentimental speculation, imaginative ecstasy. We have to be so careful about that. Feeling the presence of Krishna would mean, just like the Goswamis wrote literatures, rasic literatures. It wasn't imagination, it's what they were seeing. They see the pastime, just like I'm sitting here, I see all that, and I just write about it. That's what the Goswamis saw. It's not imagination. We have to be so careful about that. So the name and the possessor of the name are one. But we do not know that. We cannot, we don't. Otherwise, my hair should be standing on end, I should be crying. Prabhupada says I should be chanting Hare Krishna 25 hours a day. But because I have no taste, that's why there's a regulation, 16 rounds. And so I keep on going. He says, you won't understand this in the material world. So here, the Acharya himself says, the name and the possessor of the name, they're one, but we won't understand this in the material world. It's a very powerful statement, this. We have to try to understand it very carefully with intelligence. We realize this with our pure practice and power of guru and sadhus. So it is possible. And he says, but again, pure practice, power of guru and sadhus. How many of us can really say we are 100% devoted there? I have to be honest. Until we realize this truth, we will never leave the mundane consciousness. So meaning, until I realize that the name and the possessor of the name are one, I will never get off the material platform. Seems very depressing. He says, we'll chant the name, but never get the pure name. We will chant only Namabhas, and our service will remain imperfect. But now, he gives a little glimmer of hope. He says, with great care, now, without any sentiment, without any sentimental speculation, imaginative ecstasy, great care, we try to realize this truth. If I try to realize the truth, how I am so limited, then when I want to practice, do my devotional practices, I do it from a platform of reality, not pretension, which is what I said in the beginning. Because when we come to Krishna consciousness, we see already what is the result. We get attracted to the result, and we try to practice the result instead of practicing the sadhana. We have to try to understand that. And that will lead us nowhere. It will just be cheap thrills and take birth again and again. Basically, that's what the sahajas are. But then, what he says, with great care, we try to realize this truth and attain the consciousness of the highest plane, meaning we try our best following the rules. Namabhas is following the rules. And now he says, very carefully, please listen to that. When we carefully and constantly chant Namabhas, the Lord will mercifully grant us realization of this truth. Which truth? That the name and the possessor of the name are one. Through that very Namabhas. Do you understand that? Radha Kripa, Radha Sundari. It means, as I said, it's very three-dimensional. If we sincerely keep chanting Namabhas, Namabhas is a clearing stage where we're trying to chant without offenses. When we are sincerely trying this, Krishna, when he sees that sincere endeavor, he himself, he gives us Shuddhanam, using that Namabhas that we're chanting. You understand that? This is what the Acharyas say. I'm not making anything up. And that's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says. Do not try to see Krishna, but act in a way that Krishna sees you. What do we see if we see Krishna? Like right now, there's so many different forms of Krishna. If I say, you know, I've met this great personality, I went to see that great personality. If you know me very well, you would tell me, oh really, how was it? What did you talk about? So when I say I go to see Krishna, can I have the same kind of output? What did we talk about? What was he doing? This is what seeing Krishna means. But we don't. That's why it's called taking darshan. He sees me. I do not see him. Yeah. It's easy, it's not cheap. It's as simple as that. Again, it comes back to the same basic points. What it is that I want. Do I really want to go to Krishna and be part of his entourage in Goloka Vrindavan? Then it means I will have to follow a certain process. And that same thing that we're talking about with the rules and regulations, which nobody likes actually. Who likes that? It means restrictions. It means, especially in the Kali Yuga, you know, hindrance of my free spirit, my free expression. Nobody likes that. But then it's okay. We do what we want. There's no imposition here. With Krishna, there is no imposition. What we want is what he will give us. And it might not be him. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur speaks about the shadow, Krishna. Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaks about something, again, very three-dimensional, that we should try to hear carefully and understand. I'll read it directly. There is a subtle difference between aprakrita, meaning transcendental, and adhyatmika, meaning psychological. I had to read this statement about 4 or 5 times to really understand what he was talking about. There's a difference between transcendence and psychological. What does psychological mean? Psychological means, I even had to go to the dictionary to get the meaning. He says, emotional state affecting the mind or arising from the mind. He says, between the spiritual and what comes out of the mind, there is a very, very subtle difference. He says, so subtle that most people cannot make the difference. Can you imagine? Do you know who we're trying to possess here, in a sense? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do you have the recording? In the Mahabharata, there's one story. So when Arjuna asked Krishna to become his chariot driver, you know how the chariots are built, right? There's a platform where the warrior who shoots arrows is. Then down is the sitting place of the chariot driver. So the chariot driver, basically his head is on the same level as the platform, which means the foot of the warrior touches the head of the chariot driver. Now on the battlefield, if Arjuna wants to go, it's full of people from the opposite side. You don't want them to know your plan. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I go forward? So to be able, he wasn't going to shout that to Krishna. Krishna right, Krishna now left. So with his foot, he would touch the ear of Krishna. Right ear, go right. Left ear, go left. And the head, go forward. This is, do we even realize who we are trying to be the family of? Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who, Aham Bijapadapita, I'm the seed-giving Father. Aham Sarvasya Prabhavo. To me, the material and spiritual worlds emanates. I give remembrance, I give forgetfulness. Become my devotee, I'll take away all your sins. He's a person, a real person. And why would he want to give himself so easily? In one of the lectures of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada says, we have to try and know Krishna. We can know Krishna from Krishna himself. Krishna talks about himself, where? In the Bhagavad Gita. And he says, so you try. You read the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, he's not talking about his intimate dealings. He's talking about himself, who he is. So try to know Krishna from himself. So I was listening to this lecture while cooking, and Prabhupada, he's talking, and he says, you try to know Krishna from Krishna himself, and at the end, he makes a slight pause. And my mind keeps running, because at the end, what does it mean? I become an associate of Krishna, logically. But he doesn't say that. He says, at the end, if you are fortunate, then you surrender. Do we understand from which level surrender comes? Why would you want to love someone you don't know? Why would you want to surrender to someone you don't know? Does it make any sense? He's a person again. We have to understand that. He's talking about himself in the Bhagavad Gita. The words in the Gita are not dead words on paper, ink on paper. They're alive. If we want, it will be alive. If we don't want, we read so many times and not see Krishna there. We have this recording of Srila Prabhupada, and he's talking about Krishna. It's a bit difficult to understand. There's an accent, and there's a music behind which is very annoying. But try to listen to Prabhupada and listen to his emotions. It's very short, about 10 seconds or so. Okay, I don't have a mobile phone, so I'm really not good in these things. Where?
Real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got, what is your value? And what is the value of your things? There is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten fallen. But I applaud this thing for you. Please take. This will be accepted. Don't be puffed up. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request. Thank you very much.
Everybody understood that? Basically, Prabhupada says, what is our value? What is the value of our things? Everything is his. So we go to Krishna saying, I'm most rotten, I'm most fallen, but I have brought these things for you. Kindly accept it. And it will be accepted. Platform of reality. It is said also in the Prema Vivarta or Sarata Darshini, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, I think, says that Krishna can forgive millions of offenses if his devotee is free from deceit. Very important. We cannot make any progress from the platform of pretense. It comes back to the same thing. We come to Krishna consciousness, we get everything in one package. The beginners, the process, and the end result. And sometimes we want to imitate the end result without having gone through the process. How will Krishna reciprocate with pretense? There's no reality there. There's no feelings there. But if I am real, even in my weaknesses, I admit, in my failures, the inability to keep promises, whatever it is, my admission I have no taste. Nam Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktish. Oh my Lord, Nam Nam Akari, you have hundreds and thousands of names. Sarva Shaktish. In each and every name you have invested your full potency. But do Daivam, I'm so unfortunate. That Ihajani Nanuraga. I have no attraction for any one of those names. So when I am real about myself, then Chinadapi Suni Chaina, I can chant Hare Krishna from a platform of reality, of crying out. What do I have to be puffed up about? I have no taste. I can do it as a matter of duty. Even then, I can cry out to Krishna. That will be heard and accepted. It's a process. Even we study the Shikshashtakam, the process is given. The first 4 verses, the process that we have to go through. Without that, we will never come to Ainanda Tanuja, Kinkara. Kinkara, servant. Please place me as a speck of dust at your lotus feet. Just let me be a speck of dust. We'll never even come to that point. We have to understand these 4 verses. Anybody wants to say something? It's a bit hammering. I know, it's hammering, it's hard. We've been hearing that constantly these few days, it's hard. But then, as Prabhupada says, if you want to buy a diamond, we have to pay the price. Otherwise we can get cut glass. Looks the same. Sometimes it shines more in the beginning. And then it's just cut glass, no value. Anyone would like to contribute or say something, ask something? Yes.
Thank you, Mataji, for bringing up this topic. Because it's just so real and it's so important to kind of calm down again. Because I personally, I get a lot into the sentiments. And then I also, like you said, I imagine Krishna, oh, that must be Krishna, oh, like, but we have to understand who we are and like tell us that to not forget. So thank you so much for bringing up this topic. It's so interesting and so important, and it's just so real. It's good to be remembered about it.
There's a book that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wrote. It was called Prakita Rasa Shatadushani, the 100 verses against Prakita Sahajas. It's easier than we think. Easier than we think. Why? Because we always want the easy way out. But the thing is, it's not the easy way out, or I should do the hard thing. It's not about that at all. It's about trying to be part of Krishna's entourage, and there's a process. That there is no, the acharyas have given us a certain system, and we cannot add, subtract, or invent anything. It's as simple as that. Especially we are Kali Yuga creatures. Manda sumanda matayo, manda bhagyahi upajitaha. Short-lived, I forget the verse, quarrelsome, unfortunate, unlucky. nothing works for us, really. And it's been made really easy, really easy. At least by chanting Hare Krishna, we have a chance of being part of Krishna's Leela one day. Prabhupada says we can one day see Krishna face to face. If we follow the process. But think about all the other ages, even Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga. They all attained perfection. That was it. It doesn't say they really entered the pastimes of Krishna. Krishna, Gopal, Gopakumar was looking after was searching for Gopal up, way up, down, everywhere. It doesn't say that. We actually have the opportunity. It's been made so much easier. But still, we have to want it. That determination to want, to do it right, shows our willingness. That's the whole point. It's our willingness. It's like you want to be a lawyer. You want to be a PhD. It's not just according to my imagination only. There's a system, a rule, a protocol to be followed. And then within that protocol, I try my best. It's not by sitting down that it happens. Yeah. If we would read Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave a lot of writings about chanting Hare Krishna. For instance, he says, Hari Katha is the Swarup Shakti of Hari Kirtan. So we have to know the philosophy also. It's not only Hari Kirtan. We have to know, and his philosophy was mostly Nam Tattva. He spent 90% of his energy speaking what Madhurya Bhakti is not. All the rules of no, not this, not that, not, because we only like to hear the yes part. He says we have to understand the not part. Once we understand the don't, the yam and niyam, don't part, the rest 10% will follow automatically. Why is that? Automatically it follows. Because that is descending from the spiritual world. We cannot make it up. Like Shuddhanam. When Krishna decides to give Shuddhanam, he's giving himself. That we cannot make up. It cannot come from us. The only thing that can come from us up to the level of Namabhas. That's the only thing that we can do. We try our best. Rules and regulations, Vajjisadhana Bhakti. Yeah, I heard this analogy once. A Kanishta Adhikari thinks, I'm already there. If everybody would listen to what I'm saying, they would benefit from it. And they would actually not have so many problems. Because I know. A Madhyama Adhikari thinks, I have to work so hard to get there. Which is all right. Which is what we should be aspiring for. And Uttama Adhikari thinks, no matter what I do, I'll never get there. When Rupa and Sanatan say, we are more fallen than Jagai and Madai, does anybody know why? Why would they say that? Why are they more fallen than Jagai and Madai? Is it just good poetry? Or is it based on a reality? What is a reality? Yes? And no, it's a reality, which means there's something, a real circumstance there. Okay, where did they come from, Rupa and Sanatan? They were in the employ of the Nawab, right? One of them was the treasurer of the Nawab. And there's a reality behind everything. When I say I'm fallen, I know why I am fallen. Maybe I won't say it publicly why, but I know. There's a reality. It's not just trying, actually I'm very advanced, but I should say that I'm fallen. They were in the employ of the Nawab. Now one of them was the treasurer of the Nawab. So what would the people of the Nawab, what would they do? Destroy temples, destroy the very basis of Vedic culture, human culture. And when they would come back, the treasurer would pay them their salary. It was so bad that they even got Muslim names, Dabir Kash and Sakaram Malik. When they say we are more fallen than Jaga and Madai, Prabhupada says in a lecture, a Vaishnava doesn't speak that what he doesn't feel. It's based on a reality. And that was a reality. So when we say we are fallen, we should be honest. That's the whole point. We can only start our spiritual journey from the platform of honesty. It cannot be from a platform of pretense. Krishna cannot help something that doesn't exist. That's what pretension is. That's what deceit is. He can only help reality. And that Prabhupada says in this short lecture, yes, I am most fallen, I am most rotten, but this is all that I have. I have brought it for you. Kindly accept it. Kindly accept my namabas. Kindly accept that I'm trying to check my rounds, bringing my mind to the mantra. It's so hard, Krishna. Kindly accept whatever I have. Prabhupada says it will be accepted. That we can do. Some little things that makes it personal. I go to the temple, I see maybe there's some flowers down, I pick it up. Why? It's Krishna's temple. It's a service, starts a relationship of feelings. Little things, it doesn't have to be publicized. Nobody has to know. I just do little things that I know is part of devotional practice. That's nice. Cleaning a temple. Shingaratan, Shingar, Mandira, Marjanadu. Cleaning the temple. In Vrindavan, when the devotees started to employ the Indian workers to clean the temple, Prabhupada said, what are you doing? Don't let the workers take away your devotional service. Shingaratan, Mandira, Marjanadu. It's there in the Guru Ashtakam. We have about 3-4 minutes before Madhava starts Kirtan. Again, we've been doing that for the whole time, right? We try to hear the mantra. And this is what Madhava Prabhu will be doing. And without any musical instruments. So let's observe our mind. See, when the mind goes away, it's good news in the sense of I know where my mind is. I'm actually alive, I know. Now I can do something about it. Don't beat myself. Oh my God, I'm so fallen. No, there's no need for all that. This is what I have right now. But I try. And trying means do. Like Jyota Maharaj says, try is a failure word. I didn't realize that. When I thought about it, I said, oh my God, yes, so true. No, in that case, try is I do it, I bring it back. You know, I try, do it. You know. Anybody would like to say something? Yes. Attends. Oui, ok, vas-y.
Develop the taste because.
Okay, she's asking how we can develop the taste because.
Yeah.
How we can develop the taste. Isn't that funny? This question keeps on coming up. Isn't it? It means there's not one reply. It means nobody has really found the equation. This is what you do when you get the taste immediately. You just have to do it. You just have to do it.
For example, I don't read so much, so you can get some taste if you are more reading.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, when I was a kid, I was 10 years old, my family had to go, I was born in Mauritius, and my father had to work in the neighboring island. So everybody left with my sisters and all that. I had to stay with my grandmother and my aunt. Very boring for a 10-year-old. But my aunt was a bookworm. And after a while, I was so bored. The only thing I could do, I mean, that was what, donkeys years ago, about 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago. So there was no television. So I just had to take a book and start reading. And I became a bookworm. So you just have to do. You become a drunk by associating with a drunkard. In English, you say, a man is known by his association. With whatever we associate, we take the quality of that. It's normal. If you listen to lecture, it's non-different almost from reading. I like to read, so it's, you know. But if somebody doesn't like to read, you can learn everything. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had illiterate disciples. So once a big man came to see him. And he sent that man to his gardener disciple, who was illiterate. And that man was actually very offended. Why did he do that? And Saraswati Thakur later asked him, so did you talk to him? Did you get the Siddhanta? And he was, no, I did not. Why would you send me there? Saraswati Thakur says, go again. And anyway, long story short, he understood that whatever this devotee does is for Krishna, but in a realized way. Not that, oh, I have nowhere to go, I'm in a temple now, I'd better do that service so that I get a place to sleep and some food to eat. It's not that. It was real feeling, like Prabhupada said, feelings. Yeah. I mean, there is no how. You know, there is no special potion, nothing. You just have to do it. Or listen to the lectures of Prabhupada. I mean, for me, I listen to Prabhupada. I would.
Hare Krishna, thank you. You were speaking about emotions and sentiments, and I was thinking, well, many of us, we are so trained to be in our intelligence and not being in our emotions. Actually, also on the earthly planet, we can learn from relationship, at least to get a glimpse of an emotion. For sure, it's a sentiment. But in the same way, I think, from where should I learn and why should I push down my anger, all my sentiments, actually. And yeah.
Why would you want to push down anger?
How often we push down our emotions or our sentiments. We don't really feel them.
So is that a question for a psychological counselor or for... or is it
No, I was thinking, can we learn from the emotions here to adapt it, maybe? Or
I think you have to give me an example. It's hard for me to understand what you're trying to say. Can anybody understands?
Ich versuch's auf Deutsch.
Oh, try.
Okay. Die Emotionen, von denen du gesprochen hast, das eine ist ja wie so das...
Okay, wait, just first thing. So which emotion did I speak about?
You spoke about emotions coming and sentiments we are having.
Okay, so I was saying that there's a difference between sentiment and emotional.
Exactly.
So the emotional is what instigates feelings within us, but it's not self-instigated. You understand that? Sentiment from emotions that come. So what I was talking about is when, let's say I am in a kirtan and I'm an ecstatic, okay, I'll just give an example based on reality because it's very hard to make up things. Some years ago, we were somewhere in the world, and Madhava had 3-hour slot for kirtan. And so he would do a little bit of kirtan, I would speak, and then he would do the rest of the kirtan for about 2 hours. So a little bit of kirtan, I spoke, and then while I was speaking, his mridanga player ran away. Apparently he was sick, so he ran away. He never came back. And so he starts kirtan, and without the mridanga, it's a bit hard even for the kartal to follow, for the rhythm. So he decides no instruments at all. And so I go to sit in the audience. He was on the stage. I go in the audience, and he starts to sing a melody that I particularly did not like, don't like. I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so boring for me. What do I do now? Do I sit or do I go? It was a battle in my mind for like 5 minutes. And can you imagine without instruments? Because Saraswati Thakur says we need the distraction of instruments, good voice, talent, for us to digest the Mahamantra. Because the Mahamantra doesn't need all that actually. And so I decided I'll sit. It was a huge challenge. But when the challenge ended, I don't even remember. Because the kirtan ended and I realized I did not notice the melody anymore. So it came from external that, I don't know, I'm not going to speculate about things. But all I'm going to say is, I did not notice the melody or anything. The kirtan ended, 2 hours just ended. Now, when we were finished, so we had a translator with us. And I said what just happened to me. The translators went like, oh my God, same thing with me. And I also could not run away because I had to translate. So I had to sit, but then it was gone. I did not realize. When was it? Was it after 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour? I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm talking about the spiritual point of view. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the Acharya, says. When he comes, you don't even know. It's unexpected. It is not according to my plan. We can't really speak about things we don't know. The one who has no inside, no outside, no front, no back. What can I speak? You know, what you're talking about, tolerating in the material world, I don't know what you were meaning, if it makes sense to you or you still want to try to explain something or know something.
It was wonderful what you said, but it wasn't my question. Hast du sie verstanden?
I think I understood half about learning from emotions, but then you were connecting it to some spiritual topic, which I couldn't.
Ja, dass wir wie voneinander, von den Emotionen hier auf der Welt lernen können für die höheren Emotionen. Also
Yes, actually you can, right? So now I sit in any kirtan. Even kirtan, I sit. I learned from that, definitely. You can.
Are you talking about other emotions like your
relationship emotions, like real.
Oh, okay, that is more complicated. I wouldn't know that. Yeah, you have to be expert. This is a dangerous ground. I think we'll stop here and we'll do 20 minutes of kirtan. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So for the next 20 minutes, we're going to forget about the mind and just try and be honest, with Krishna. We can get to know Krishna by hearing and by chanting his names, but the heart has to be, the energy has to flow, the heart has to be honest, the feelings have to be real. And we can do this by chanting, by hearing the holy names, especially hearing. The quality of our chanting depends on the quality of our hearing. So we're going to listen to each syllable, each mantra, meaning what we're chanting. Like Srila Prabhupada says, let's try to hear ourselves chant sincerely. So please chant loudly, please chant for the pleasure of Shri Shri Gaura Nitai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Everyone together, a little louder, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. One more time again, a little louder. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One last time, very loudly, please. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Gaur Premanande, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki, Shri Shri Radha Shyam Sundar ki, Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Dham ki, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki, His Grace Hindra Prabhu ki, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki, Gaur Premanande. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Gaur Bhaktavinda ki, Gaur Premanande. Vancha kalpataruvasya kripasandibhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us in this little workshop. We'll see you again later for more kirtans with Bada Hari Prabhu. Hare Krishna.